Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see the SQL functions. So, we are going to see the library functions of SQL, and these functions are implemented in almost all the implementations of SQL like MySQL, Oracle, Teradata and other RDBMSs that use SQL. So, let us get started. So we know that if you want to reuse a piece of code, you put it in a procedure and you can call that procedure wherever you want. So these procedures have got different names. So sometimes they are called functions, sometimes they are called methods. That depends on the programming framework that you are using. So similarly, SQL functions are nothing but procedures. So they take some input, they manipulate it, and then they return some output. So single row functions are the functions that accept a single row, okay, and they return a single row. So if we are feeding n number of rows to the single row function, then output will also be n number of rows. So these functions are known as single row functions in SQL. In case you have n rows and function is operating on all of those n rows and it is dividing it into multiple groups, then these sort of functions are known as group functions. Okay, so in group functions, suppose n is number of rows and it is dividing it into m number of groups based on some criteria, then it is going to produce m number of rows in the output. So in the single row functions, n number of input rows and n number of output rows. In the group functions or multiple row functions, n number of input rows, they are divided into m groups and the output will have m number of rows. So this is how the single row and multiple row functions work. So almost all the implementations of SQL have got these single row and multiple row functions. They are important part of functionality of SQL. So from the next video lecture onwards, we are going to have a look at various single row functions in MySQL. We are going to have a separate section for multiple row or group functions in MySQL. So thanks a lot for watching this video lecture. Do let me know if you have any question, query or comment about this video lecture. Thanks a lot once again, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see an important concept known as dual table in MySQL. So almost all the implementations of SQL will have some sort of dummy table. So a dummy table is not a real table or not a real object in the database. It just has got a single row and single column from where you can retrieve the dummy data. Okay, so let's get started with this. So I'm going to use Sakila database, and suppose I just want to print my name. I can just say select Ashwin, but where should I select it from? So for that, there is a table in database known as dual, which has got single row and single column. So if I execute this, it says now Ashwin. Even column name is Ashwin. Okay, so as name from dual. So here the column name is name now and the data is Ashwin. So suppose if I try to select star from dual, then let us see what happens. So it is a dummy table. So let us see what happens. Okay. So it throws an error. So it says no tables used. So in Oracle, we can see the contents of dual, but here in MySQL, it seems that it is not possible to see the contents of dual. So you can use it to print the stuff on the screen or to select the dummy data. So this is known as dummy table. So you can use it for a lot of purpose. So I can just say select 1 from dual. It is just going to show us 1. And suppose I want to have an arithmetic expression like this, it is going to show us the value of that expression. Okay, so for such sort of things we use dual table. So remember that dual table is a dummy table and we use it to retrieve the dummy data. So do let me know if you have any questions, queries or comments about this video lecture. Thanks a lot again for watching this video lecture and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to get started with the single row functions. So this is going to be a very light lecture and we are not going to see a very complex stuff in this video lecture. Okay, this is just the beginning of a very long series for single row functions. We are going to see the case manipulation functions. So let us see how we can use them. So as the name suggests, case manipulation function affect the case of the character, case in the sense uppercase or lowercase. Let us see how we can use them. So I can just say select title, comma, description from film. And if I execute this, it is going to show me the title and description. So it is going to show me the data in the case it was entered in the database. So suppose if I want to change the case of the stuff, then I need to use the case manipulation functions in SQL. So let us see a simple case manipulation function, lower. So as its name suggests, it is going to turn every character into lowercase character for that particular column. So let's execute this and see the output. Okay, sorry, we should do title, okay, so that we can compare and contrast how the original title looked and how the title after applying the lowercase looks like. So this is the output, this is the original title, and then after making all the characters lowercase, how the title looks. Now similarly we can even say copy, paste, here it is description, right? I'm just gonna say upper description. So if I execute this, this is the uppercase of the description and this is the original description. So this is how we can manipulate the characters. So in Oracle's SQL, there is a function known as initcap. Let us see if that function is there in MySQL. I guess that function is missing from SQL. Okay. MySQL. Okay. I'm just going to copy this and paste it and let us see if this function is there. No, I guess this initcap function is not there. So initcap turns only the first character into the uppercase and rest of the characters are lowercase. So that function is available in Oracle SQL, not in the MySQL. So don't worry about noting down the queries. All these queries are available in the downloadable PDF for this lecture. So I hope that you understood the case manipulation functions. Case manipulation functions are the functions in SQL that affect the case of the character columns. So thanks a lot once again for watching this video lecture and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to have a look at the character manipulation functions. In the last video lecture, we saw the case manipulation functions. Case manipulation functions and character manipulation functions both work on the text columns. So let us go ahead and see a couple of character manipulation functions. So here we are gonna see a simple character manipulation functions concat, which is there for concatenating two strings. So the first string is MySQL, comma, second string is the best. So note that there is a space before is because I want this statement to be correct syntax wise and grammatically from dual. Okay, now it is going to print a sentence. See here, it says MySQL is the best. Okay, so here the strings are MySQL and space is space the space and best followed by a full stop. Both these strings are concatenated using concat function. So this function is used for concatenating the strings. Now this function can also be used for concatenating the columns of a table, and we are going to see that now. I'm going to say title, comma, description from film, our usual table. So if I execute this is the output. Similarly, another character manipulation function is substring. So it is used to extract the substring from any character string or a character column in your database table. So here this is the string and this is the starting position from where we want to extract the substring, and this is the length of the substring to be extracted. So note that here the addressing of individual characters start from 1. So this O is 1, R is 2, A is 3. So in case you are familiar with C or Java programming, the array indexing start from 0. It is not the case for SQL. So if I execute this is the output ORAC. So here 1 refers to the position from which we want to start the extraction and 4 refers to the length of the substring. So I can just say 5 and I will get different results. So this is LE space S. Similarly, if I just keep the initial number as it is and change the length, again I will get a different output. Okay, so I just want you to go ahead and try this multiple times on different stuff. So I will just show you another demonstration of the same stuff. I can just say title from film, and this will be very interesting because we are directly working on a character column in a database table. So this is the output. So I'm going to execute this. So now we are going to see another character function. Select length from film. So this is going to show us the film length. Okay, and comma, if I say title of the film, it is going to show us the length and title of the film. Now, if I want to see the length of any string, there is a function known as length itself. Okay, so here length is database column. So I deliberately typed it because I just didn't want you to get confused between the character column name and the built-in function. So it is always a good idea not to keep your table name or column name as the built-in names of the functions in the database engine. So here they have committed this mistake, and let us see what happens. So I'm going to say length of title comma title. Okay, and here I'm just going to delete this length. So here this length is used as a function to know the length of the string that we are working with. So if I execute this, it shows me the length of character string in the title column for every row. So there is another function known as inString select instr of, let's say again, Oracle SQL comma s. So s is the second argument from dual. So let us see how it works first, and then I'm going to explain you the working. So here it actually shows us the position of the second argument in the character string that we are passing as the first argument for this particular function. So in case if that particular substring does not exist at all, it should return us. Okay, so as of now it is not checking for the cases, so I'm just going to check for z. Okay, then let us see what it returns. It returns 0. It means that this particular character does not exist in this string. Now let us study the padding functions. So in SQL there are two padding functions, lpad and rpad. Select lpad Oracle $15 from dual. So this is going to pad the string Oracle with characters star such that the total length of entire string will be 15, and it is going to pad it to the left of the string. So let me execute it and show you the output. Similarly, the other padding function is rpad. It also performs the same activity, that is padding the string with given character and making the total length as the second argument. The only difference with lpad is it pads to the right of given character string. So let me execute it and show you the output. And this is the output. So these are all character manipulation functions in MySQL database. So these are all generic functions. They can be found in almost all the relational databases. You can practice all these functions more with the tables in Sakila database. Do let me know if you have any question, query or comment about this video lecture. Thanks a lot for watching this video lecture, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see number manipulation functions. So let us get started. So I'm going to say select round of 67.1234. So we are going to use this number in the rest of the exercise, and 1. So I'm going to copy this now, and let us say 0, and let us say -1. Let's add a comma here, and we obviously need to select it from dual. So I'm going to execute this and show you the output. So this is going to round it. Okay. So here 67.12 means round it to the first digit after the decimal. This means that 0 digits after the decimal. So the result is equivalent to truncation. And finally, we are rounding it to the first digit before the decimal. So negative means the digits before the decimal point. Similarly, if you want to learn more about it, you can just replace this 1 and minus 1 by 2 and minus 2. And if I execute this, we have 67.12, 67 and 100. It is 100 because this is calculating the ceiling of it, okay, by rounding it. So had this quantity been less than 50, let's say 37, or let me create another example itself to show you the difference. So I'm going to say 37, 37 and 37. So this is going to be 37.12. It will be 37 and this will be 0. So this is the output. So this is how the round function works. It rounds the numeric digits before and after the decimal point based on the second argument that we are passing to it. Now we can just do similarly the truncate stuff. So I'm just going to copy this as it is. So let me execute this and then I will explain you the result. So this is the truncate output. So truncating means we are truncating it before or after the decimal point depending on the argument that we are passing in the second position. So here we are simply truncating it. We are chopping off rest of the 3 characters because it says 1. So 1 point after the decimal. Similarly, 0 means everything after the decimal will be truncated, and minus 1 means everything before the decimal will be truncated. And finally, we can also compute the modulus. Select mod 15,6 from dual, and if I execute this, this is computing the modulus of the given operation. So if we divide 15 by 6, the answer is 2 and the remainder is 3. So this is that remainder. So this means that this is the modulus operation. So I just want you to go ahead and try these functions with different decimal numbers and see how these functions work for different numbers. Do let me know if you have any questions, queries or comments related to this. Thanks a lot for watching this video lecture and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see the date manipulation functions. So let us get started with it. I'm going to say select sysdate from dual. So this sysdate is a built-in function that returns system date and time. Now there is another function that can calculate the difference between the timestamp. So let us see that function. The function is select timestamped diff, time stamp diff. So this is the function, and first we need to tell it that we need to have the difference in terms of months. And let's say 2012 hyphen 05 hyphen 05 comma sys date. So this is going to return the today's date and from dual. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to execute this and see the output. So this is the output. So this is the difference in terms of months. And if I say day, it is going to give us number of days. Okay. So now I'm going to see how we can add days to given date. So select date, add sys date, comma, interval 10 day. So obviously this is going to add 10 days to the given date. Okay. So I'm just going to execute it and this is the output. We really do not have to use dual for this. Let's try to use dual and let's see what happens from dual. Okay, the query runs without any error even if we use dual. And here I'm going to say minus 10 days. So it is going to subtract 10 days from the today's date. Okay, so for your reference, today's date is 31st of August 2019. So these are all the date manipulation functions in MySQL. So do let me know if you have any questions, queries or comments related to this. All these functions can be better understood by practicing them yourselves. Thanks a lot and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see the conversion between datetime and string. So we are going to have a look at two functions, str to date and date format. So let us see how these functions work. Select str to date. So this is going to convert a string into a date, and the first argument is the string and the second argument is also a string, but it is the string related to the format. So for example, I am going to say 25 08 1986 comma %d slash %m slash %y. So if I execute this, it is going to show me the 2508 1986 into date format. Okay, so here in the format string we are specifying what corresponds to what. Means this %d corresponds to 25, 08 corresponds to %m and 1986 corresponds to %y. And we really don't have to use dual with that. Similarly, we are going to say here hyphen, then here too we need to use hyphen. So if I execute this, this is the output. And let us see one more example before moving on to the other function. So it is 15th August AUG 1947. This is the day when India got independence. So I'm just going to replace it with uppercase M so that it is going to interpret this as the month in the text. So this is the output. Now we are going to see other function known as date format. So the first argument is the date and the second argument is the format in which we want to convert that date. So you can use sysdate or you can use a date column from the database table. Select date format sysdate comma, I'm just going to say this. So we are going to see a lot of examples of this. So don't worry. That's it. And if I'm going to execute it, this is the output. Copy. And we can even say %d, b and y. So let us see what it means. Okay. Sorry, it has to be lowercase b. And let us see what it means. Okay, so it is the month. And similarly, we can even show the hour, minutes and seconds. So I'm just going to copy this again. And I'm going to say send the %b, and here I'm going to say %h, %i, %s, and it will be interesting to see the results. So this is date and the current time. So this way you can experiment with various types of formats and show the date in the format you want. So the first argument could be the sysdate or any date time column in the database table, as I told you already. And the second argument is the string that has the format. So in this video lecture, we saw str to date and date underscore format functions that convert date time into strings and strings into date time. So I want you to go ahead and practice these two functions more and try to use different formats in order to increase your understanding about date time data type in SQL and how we can format them for our advantage, because your end application might require the date time in different format than it is stored in the computer. So do let me know if you have any questions, queries or comments about this video lecture. Thanks a lot for watching this video lecture, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to see how to handle the null. So we already have seen the concept of null. Null is nothing but absence of any data value. So let us see how we can handle the null. So we are going to use Sakila database, and I'm going to say select original language ID, comma, if null, original language ID. So I'm just going to copy this, comma, English. From film. Okay, so let us execute it, and then I'm going to explain you how if null works. So this is how the if null function works. Okay, so if it encounters a null value, it is going to substitute that value with whatever is there as a second argument. Okay, so wherever it encountered null, it just replaced it with English. So this is very, very useful. So suppose you have something like select 1 plus null from dual, then probably it is going to give us the wrong results. see, it actually returns null. So in place of that, if I just say if null, comma 0, then it is going to return 1. So for practical purposes, we can consider null as 0 for any numeric value. Okay. So this is how if null works. So if any one of you have worked with Oracle SQL, then there is a corresponding function similar to this, which is known as NVL. So the functionality of NVL and if null is same. Now we are going to see nullif function. So I'm just going to say select first name, comma, last name, comma, length of first name, length of last name, nullif length of first name, comma, length of last name from actor. So if I execute this, okay, I guess there is some problem because we forgot the comma. It is giving us the problem. So if I execute this again, I will get the output, and this is the output. So now let us try to understand the functionality of nullif. So basically, it is going to compare both the arguments, and if both the arguments are equal, then it is going to return null. And if they are not equal, then it is going to return the first argument. So let us try to see if the length of first name and last name is equal. So here 0 cache satisfies that condition. That's why there is null in the corresponding column that uses nullif function. And similarly here Vivian Bergen, for that also the length of first name equals to length of last name, and that's why we have null here in the last column. Otherwise, wherever you see, you will find that length of first name is also the last column, okay, where this condition is not satisfied. So here it is 4 for first name and 7 for last name, and the last column is 4. Okay. So this is how the nullif works. So let me explain you again. If both the arguments are equal, then it is going to return null. Otherwise, it is going to return the first argument. Now let us see Coley's function. Select Coley's address 2, comma, address, comma, district from address. So now this Coley's function returns the first non-null value it encounters. So the Coley's function returns the first non-null value it encounters. So basically many times we have various text boxes for addresses, right? So if you see any web form, there will be multiple text boxes for specifying the addresses. So the first text box might correspond to your flat number or the locality, second text box for the area or the city, and the third text box for building name, something like that. And the final text box will be for district name or city name. So user has choice usually to fill in all or leave all of them blank. Okay, so but in most of the forms, it is mandatory that you fill in at least one text box that specifies the address so that the organization that is collecting address related data will have some reference about the location of that person. So if you want to retrieve such data and you want to meaningfully retrieve this sort of data, then you can use this callis function. Here it is going to return first non-null or not null field. So I'm going to execute this and let us see the magic in action. So here the callis returns the first not null field. So in the case of the fields where you don't find anything, I guess that is the only not null stuff available there. Okay, that is blank address. So this is how callis works. So all these functions are collectively known as null handling functions in MySQL. So the first function that we saw was if null, and it works similar to NVL in Oracle SQL. Then we have seen nullif function, and finally we saw callis function. So thanks a lot for watching this video lecture, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. In most of the programming languages, we have the case statement. So in MySQL also we have case. So let us see how we can use it. So let us write down the query. Select film ID, comma, rental rate, comma, case rental rate when 0.99 then 1.00, when 1.99 then 2.5, when 3.99 then 4.5, else rental rate and end as revised rental from film. So I have already written it in a form where you can understand from the statement itself the use of this case. Okay, so here we are selecting film ID and rental rate columns, and then we are applying case on the column rental rate. So wherever rental rate is 0.99, we are making it 1.0, where it is 199, it is 2.5, and then wherever it is 3.99, we are making it 4.5. Otherwise, it is going to remain at its original value, and we are naming that column as revised rental. And we are selecting all this from table film. So I'm just going to select the entire statement and going to execute it. And here you can see the result. So here it is 0.99, and here you can see it has been converted into 1. So here it is 4 and it is 4.99. So everything is against film ID. If you want to have more fields like title, you can have it, so that it will give you fair idea about the films. So this is the film title, rental rate, and then revised rental rate due to some reason like inflation. Okay, so this is how we can have the revised rental rate by using case statement. So this is just like switch case statement in any programming language like C, C++ or Java, or this can also be compared to else if ladder. Okay, where you have top level if, then you have else if, again else if, and then you have else, and finally it ends everything. Okay. So this is the case statement. So you will find a lot of scenarios where you can use this case statement to derive a new column. So this is how we can use case statement to create a derived column. Do let me know if you have any question, query or comment. Thanks a lot for watching this video lecture, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, welcome to this video lecture. Till now we have seen all the major single row functions in MySQL. So if you have worked with any programming language like C, C++ or Java, then you must have studied the concept of nesting. So suppose if you have an if statement, and if you write another if statement within that, or if you have a for loop and if you write another for loop within that for loop, then we call them nested if and nested for loops respectively. So similarly, we have here nested function calls for the single row functions in MySQL. So let us see how we can do that. So I can just say select title, comma, lower of substring title, comma 1, comma 5 from film. So here I'm going to say title. Okay, it has to be lowercase according to the conventions. Okay, so we are going to select title, then we are going to select the title, then we are going to select the substring of it from 1 to 5, or which starts at 1 and is 5 characters long, and then we are going to turn it to lowercase. So let us execute this and let us see the output. Okay, so there is some problem with the query. The problem is that we did not close all the parentheses. And if I execute this, this is the output. So this is the original title and this is the title after we apply the substring and lower function on that. So this is known as nesting of single row functions. So here we are calling one single row function within other single row function. So this is just like any other nested construct. So the innermost function call is going to be executed first, and it is going to return the data which will be fed to the outermost function call. And we can have nesting up to any level. So you can even have nesting up to 5 levels. So this is how we can have nested single row function calls in MySQL. Do let me know if you have any questions, queries or comments related to this video lecture. Thanks a lot for watching this video lecture, and I will see you next time.